Dean, and I wanted to talk briefly about a video I made not too long ago where I more or less announced that I was going to try and compete coming up, and that show is actually June the 11th in Kansas City, but it doesn't look like I'm gonna probably make it, and I really wanted to kind of just go into sort of the reasons why this isn't going to happen, at least not now. And it has a lot to do with, well, it has a little bit to do with everything. For anybody who has competed in the NPC, the NPC being, technically and in my opinion, the only legitimate organization for bodybuilders. Nowadays they've got new divisions. They've tried to sort of who knows? It appears that what they're trying to do, or what has been going on for quite some time now, is that the NPC has attempted to sort of reduce the amount of drug use that occurs in competitors. They certainly haven't done anything to stop it at a professional level, but at the amateur level, that being the NPC, not the IFBB, they've really pushed away from female bodybuilding and done, what I don't know that it really improves the whole competitive concept at all, but for women, let's just say for women, they now have bikini and figure and physique. Okay, so physique has in many ways replaced the women who are willing to go a little further and take their bodies to a level of fitness, or a level of muscularity and definition that is just really sort of a step below what you would call bodybuilding. Because with bodybuilding, bodybuilding went from what it was back in the 70s and early 80s to what it is now, which is just about mass, just really enormous mass. But so in doing that, they've basically, turned the entire competitive process into a money-making machine, into a business that generates a lot of revenue, especially for the people who are fortunate enough to be able to produce these shows. And I say fortunate, it really depends on the region that you're in, because some regions in this country have more interest in this than others. Unfortunately, the region I am in has little to no interest in it. So you get a situation where really the only NPC show within reason that I could compete in is this one coming up in June in Kansas City, and it's do or die. It's either do it or don't do it, because there aren't any other options unless I want to travel, and that gets into it. Let me move on to the guys, because I always considered myself a bodybuilder, but as an amateur, and as a person who can't afford a trainer and can't afford a nutritionist or an advisor, to advise me on my diet, or taking it even a step further, to have somebody available to me to instruct you on the use of anabolic steroids or that type of thing, so that you can really develop the kind of physique that is competitive and that can potentially win. Because here's the thing: if you plan on, as a man, competing as a bodybuilder, even if to some extent, if you plan on competing, in the new classic physique category, or the physique category that they've got with the whole board short thing, which to me, I'm sorry, but I've never been on board with that because the majority of those guys, they have, um, relatively good, sharp, defined upper bodies, but from the waist down, they cover everything up, and the only thing that sticks out is the calves. And if you look at a good number of go through as many contest photos as you want, and look at the physique guys with their board shorts on. Some of them have calves as big around as my wrist. I mean, you know, what kind of category is it that essentially neglects, avoids, or conceals the entire lower half of your body and allows a guy to just focus on what most guys typically do in the gym anyway? Just build biceps and chest, and maybe do some back work, and forget about your quads, and forget about your calves, and forget about your lower half. But the problem, big part of the problem is that in the NPC, I don't care what you say, I don't care who you are, if you plan on competing at that level, especially if you plan on competing in the bodybuilding category, you will not be successful. You will not win or be competitive if you're not taking steroids, okay? And, there are there are probably more negatives associated with steroid use than there are positives. And at some point in time, I'll probably make a video and talk exclusively about that. But my problem at this point with attempting to be, to competing in this June show is that I've been trying more or less. I'm 54 now. When I was 38, it was a lot easier to diet, to cut calories and still be able to go to work every day and manage to function and lose weight and get lean and still save lean muscle tissue, and become defined, so that when you stood on stage, you looked massive, even though, when I used to compete in back, 2015, well, let's see, 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago, I could hit 170 pounds. I could drop to 170 pounds, and that's where I was the sharpest. That's where I had the most definition. But, standing here now in front of this camera, I can honestly say that if I stepped on the scale right now, and I could, and I probably will, to add it to this video, I'm about 193 pounds. I'm 193, 195 pounds. And I realized looking that, I have some definition, but I don't have the sharpness that I could have or had, back when I was 38 or 39. But a bigger part of the problem is expense. I've had times where the relationships I was involved in, where I committed, because to be competitive, to get on stage and be competitive, requires at least 3 months of concentrated effort. 3 months, okay? And it's not something that you do for an hour a day or whatever, and then you're finished. It's not like coming home and doing homework and you're good to go. It's a lifestyle. You have to modify everything about the way you eat, the way you train, the way you sleep. Ideas, the things like taking trips or something, to go on even a small vacation or a short vacation can really screw things up. You have to really forego potentially your training, your diet, and all of that, for several days, depending on how long the trip is, and it can really screw up the entire plan. So the point of that is that the whole process of being competitive or competing is a really selfish, egotistical, narcissistic process, okay? And the other part of it is that, and it's not that I couldn't do this, that I couldn't afford to do this. But the NPC card, when I first joined the NPC, was $35. It was $35 to get an NPC card to compete in a show. It's $125 right now. It's gone up $5 a year for the last 15 years, at least. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's regularly gone up to $5 a year until it's hit. I think it's $135 right now. I'd have to look it up, but it doesn't really matter. It's over $100. So here's the problem. I mean, just in a nutshell. I looked at the show registration, the show to register and just to do one class. So in other words, if I just wanted to compete as a bodybuilder and not do classic physique as well, is $80. It's $80. So $135 for the membership card. $80 for the to register to get into the show. Well then, I could buy. I have an airbrush. I could buy some tanning solution and spray myself, but even if I do that, I'm going to spend $70 to $100 on a quart bottle of solution, and then spend several hours of the days preceding the show spraying myself, with this stuff, trying to get a good. I have to spray myself, so the cost of the card, $135. The cost of the show, $80. The cost of the tanning. Now, if I do it myself, it's $80 to $100. If I go to the show and I have somebody spray me at the show, it's usually $115. So we're at $300, and all I've done is register and to compete with NPC, register for the show and get myself sprayed. Okay, now I have to travel. All right. So usually there's some kind of weigh-in the night before the show. You've got to make the weigh-in. Even though at this point, competing as a 50-year-old, my weight doesn't matter. When I go to that show, I'll be lucky if there's 3 other guys competing, and they don't weigh us anymore. We just all get lumped together. I don't, I go in there at 100. Let's say I could go in at 175 pounds. Somebody else comes in at 210 or 215 or 220. I'm going to stand next to that guy, and I'm going to be competing against him. So is it fair? Probably not. But when you don't have enough competitors to make a decent class, what are you going to do? I mean, all you can do is lump these guys together and just compare them. So I could do this show. I could do it. I'd feel comfortable doing it in the condition that I'm in right now. Okay, but what I don't want to do is I've got a wife. I don't want to spend, what could inevitably amount to about $500 to go down to a place. Oh, and then of course I have to buy my wife tickets. So, anywhere from $35, $50 or whatever. I got to get her into the prejudging, and I got to get her into the night show. So there's another $100 just to get my wife into the show to watch me compete in this thing. Okay. And then here's what I get. I get to go on stage at some point for prejudging in the morning, stand there and hit compulsory poses, okay, with a bunch of other guys, and while they judge, all right, and then I leave, okay, I'm done, and the decision as to who the placings has been made, okay, it's been made, and so then I go, I have to sit around all day somewhere, probably in a hotel room. I mean, inevitably, I'm going to have to sit in a hotel room, okay, or something. And, hotel rooms you got checkout times and all this. And, I mean, the prejudging, 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, and the evening show's not till 6 o'clock. The whole process is really a pain in the ass, for a better way of describing it. So then I come back, okay, and what happens at night is I come back, at some point we get called out as a group. We stand there, we hit a few poses, and then we go back, and then we come back out, and basically what I get for all this money, all this time and everything that I've invested is basically 60 seconds on stage to some music that I brought, all right? 60 seconds to stand there on stage and do a routine, okay, for the audience, and then we finish up. However many guys we finish up, we come back out, and then they, if I win, if I place or I show whatever, I get a trophy. Sometimes it's a little bitty trophy. Sometimes I got a sword one time, kind of a cheap sword, but hand me a trophy, and guess what? I'm done, and I'm out of there. And, you know, at some point, you know, my picture might show up on a website, the NPC website, maybe Muscle Media, maybe Iron Mag, who knows, whoever's sponsoring the show. So I guess my point is, you know, in this that, you know, as much as I want to compete, as much as I like the process and I like the attention, I like, you know, being, I just, you know, and displaying physique that I've spent decades building and working on, there comes a point where it becomes difficult, if not impossible, to justify the expense and the trouble that I put my wife through, you know, to go and do this and really, and, you know, to get what amounts to basically 60 seconds on stage in front of a group of people, you know, doing poses, you know, hitting poses, and then getting my cheap trophy and going home. You know, I mean, that's it. There's no significant reward to the process anymore. I don't feel like I'm really getting. I mean, I'm not going to be a pro. I'm never going to be a pro. I'm not. At no point. I'm not going to go to the collegiate masters nationals at any point. I don't think you know. I mean, if I had a sponsor, if I had somebody backing me who where I could train constantly, where my job was my physique, my job was to try and get ready for that show. Maybe. I mean, you know, genetically, I don't know. You know, maybe I could, but that isn't going to happen. So, you know, at some point I have to be realistic in it. Although I have no intention of quitting, you know, lifting and attempting to, you know, it has caused problems. I mean, you know, there have been issues that have occurred from the extreme level of commitment, you know, and risk that you take to try and build a muscular physique, you know, worthy of being compared to others, you know, on a stage. Okay, so I probably will not end up in that show this year, and I don't, you know, I mean, am I never going to compete again? I have no idea. Do I want to compete again? Of course, you know, I want to compete again, but I don't want to compete if I'm not going to be competitive. And as hard as I've been trying over the last 2 months to get ready for the show, you know, I haven't lost an ounce. You know, I weighed 195, 196 when I started, and right now I am going to weigh myself for this video and put it on this video. I'm still 190 plus, 190 pounds. I'm 5'7", okay? I'm 5'7", and I weigh 190 pounds. I mean, or 190 whatever. That's significant. You do my body mass index with numbers like that, and I am considered morbidly obese, okay? I am morbidly obese. So anyway, I'd like to keep making the videos too. I mean, I'd like to see if I can help continue to pass on knowledge that I've obtained from these years of trial and error and all this significantly hard work. But as far as standing on stage again anytime soon, it's probably not going to happen this year. You know, things go better for us, you know, and you know, there's enough cash laying around that I can piss away $500 or $600 just to go stand on stage again, you know, and I can actually put the time in for 3 months to actually get lean enough to make it worthwhile. I'll do it, you know, I'll do it, but now is not the time. So, you know, it's disappointing that that competitive bodybuilding, physique, you know, competitions have become what they are, and that there's only one organization, you know, that has sort of a monopoly on it, and has raised the level of expense to the point where, you know, for regular people, it's out of reach. I mean, it's just out of reach. You know, I feel sorry for anybody who thinks they're ready to stand on stage and doesn't have anybody, you know, willing to be honest with them and say, look, you know, you got a ways to go. You need to put some more time in. you need to get the right drugs because you're not going to win. You look terrible. You're just, I feel sorry for those people who piss away a lot of money to go stand on stage only to be, you know, only to lose and to be in some ways ridiculed by people in the audience, unbeknownst to them. But that's what it is. That's what it's become. I mean, it's just, it's it used to be fun. It used to be a group of us, that competed all the time together. We knew each other, and and we had a good time. It was a good time, but that's not the case anymore. The closest I came to enjoying competition was Betty Parizo's Europa Expo. I mean, she did a great job with her show that it travels the country. I happened to catch it in Dallas in 2015, but that's a rarity. I mean, I don't travel the country and go to various shows. I've never seen the Arnold. I'd like to go to the Arnold at some point, but I've heard it's just gotten out of control. And I'm sure it has because there are a lot of guys, bodybuilders, muscle guys out there who are arrogant assholes. I mean, they're just assholes. I mean, if you develop a muscular physique just so that you can be a jerk, to the people around you, well, then you're in it for the wrong reasons. And I'm hoping that at some point somebody defeats you soundly, or you end up getting put in your place, because this is not about, it's not about just you. This isn't about just you. This is it's a process, and it's a process that should be shared, but some people don't look at it that way. So anyway,